thank you for joining us. I'm Captain Chamberlain with the Claremont Fire Department. I'm here with Firefighter Lizotte. It's nice to take a couple moments out of our day to speak with all of you. It's nice to see you're taking your self-quarantine and your social distance, being aware of your space distances seriously. Together we will all beat this virus. Together we will come through as a community. The couple points that I'd like to make though before Firefighter Lizotte reads to you is the Claremont firefighters are here. We're on the front lines. We're still responding to your calls every day. Some things that you can do to help us keep more safe during this crisis is if you need our services, give all the information you can to the dispatcher, to the Golden Cross ambulance personnel, to the fire department personnel if you call them. Let them know if you have a fever. Let them know if you have a cough. Let them know if you've been traveling either domestically or internationally. Let them know if you've been in contact with someone who has since become sick. All of that information is going to allow us perform our job more safely. It's also going to allow us give you the best care we can. So we greatly appreciate your cooperation with that. For those that know me, for the kids, you've probably seen me at your schools, you've seen me out at events, you've seen me when you visit the fire station. I always end with a homework assignment. And I have a perfect homework assignment that you can do today in your house that is safe, that's still meeting the social distances that we're trying to maintain. And that is locate, find, and test your smoke detectors. Smoke detectors save lives. It's the perfect time where you can go around with your parent, guardian, loved one, and make sure you have active smoke detectors. Furthermore, test them. If they work, know what to do when they go off. Know what way you're going to go out. Always have two ways out. And most importantly, when you're out, stay out. Before I turn it over to Firefighter Lizotte, I'd like to just thank the city for putting this on. I'd like to commend the city manager and all of his department heads for giving out all of the up-to-date information. If ever you have questions about what's going on or need more information, get on the website, call City Hall, call the fire department. We will give you all the information that we can to keep you safe, to keep us safe. And remember, we're all in this together. So thank you for joining us, and Firefighter Lizotte's going to read you a couple stories.
All right, so today we have two books. The first one will be called Tough Trucks. Trucks are rough and sturdy. They take on heavy loads, then thunder on their giant tires down long and busy roads. All trucks have a cab up front. The driver sits inside. The truck's controls all around, ready for the ride. The driver starts the engine, and when the way is clear, accelerates along the road and turns the wheel to steer. Some truck cabs have a bunk bed, a curtain, and a light to make a tiny bedroom where the driver sleeps at night. A big rig has a semi-trailer fitted with a pin. Its tractor unit has a slot to click the trailer in. So when the rig is traveling on roads that weave and wend, the separate parts turn one by one to get around a bend. A garbage truck collects the trash, grumbling down the street. It lifts the cans and empties them to keep things clean and neat. A concrete mixer stirs its load while traveling to the site. The foreman points, "Just pour it here, we're ready now, all right?" The piston on a dump truck can push to tilt it up. We're just about to tip some rubble. Ready, steady, hup! A tanker carries liquids, so it's sealed up good and tight. The shiny tanker's full of milk, all creamy, cool, and white. When traveling long distances, you're on the road alone, so drivers keep in touch by CB radio or phone. This truck has had a breakdown, but the driver didn't panic. He radioed around and found a handy truck mechanic. Driving trucks is tiring, but you need to be awake, so drivers park at truck stops for a meal or a break. But look, we've reached the depot. We've made another run. The forklift starts unloading, and the foreman shouts, "Well done." The end. And now the second book is called Curious George and the Donut Delivery. George is always a good monkey when he's asleep, but no monkey wants to go to sleep through Saturday. This was a Saturday that cried out for something special. Donuts, the man with the yellow hat announced. That was special. Next to bananas, donuts were George's favorite food. How about eggs with those donuts? The man asked George. Please count how many we have and write it down. But when George looked for the eggs, he found there were none left to count. There are no eggs? The man asked. Why didn't you write 0? George didn't know how. The man with the yellow hat sat George down with some paper and a pad. See, George, the man said, 0 alone means no eggs, none. But 0 after other numbers makes them mean a lot more. If we put a 0 after 1, that's 10. Write another 0, and that's 100. George stared hungrily at the zeros. They reminded him of donuts. Luckily for George and his empty stomach, they headed out to buy the groceries. The man stopped in front of a market. He said, I'll go in here and buy some eggs while you get the donuts, okay? George nodded as the man wrote down his order. The note said, 1 dozen donuts, please. As George headed to the donut shop, Charky, a friendly little dog from the neighborhood, joined him. She wanted to play, but George was too busy to stop, so she followed him into the shop. George noticed that his order only had a little 1 on it. That did not seem like a lot for a monkey who was really hungry. George saw a pencil on the counter. He grabbed it and drew a 0 after the 1. Now the note read, 10 dozen donuts. Then George wrote down another 0 before Mrs. D came to take his order. George, Charky, good to see you. Is that an order for your friend with the yellow hat? George handed over the paper. 100 dozen donuts, she exclaimed. That's our biggest order ever. Mrs. D hurried away to tell her husband in the kitchen. Soon, Mrs. D started piling box after box on the counter. George grew worried. He hadn't realized what his zeros would do. 99, 100. You can't possibly carry them all, George, Mrs. D said. Lucky for you, we have a delivery service. Mrs. D bustled off to get some help, but George did not wait around. He grabbed 1 dozen donuts and ran away with Charky. George was not quick enough. Mrs. D's entire family was soon right behind him, with their towering boxes of donuts. He must be running late. We took too long to make the donuts, Mrs. D cried as she rushed after George. When George reached his apartment, he jumped from balcony to balcony, trying to get home as quickly as possible. At first, George thought he was safe from the donut delivery. He sat down to catch his breath after running all the way home, but it wasn't long before the doorman showed the D family right up to his apartment. Soon, 100 boxes of donuts crowded the room. George looked around. He had to do something before his friend came home. Suddenly, he had an idea. When the man with the yellow hat walked in carrying his groceries, he saw only 1 box of donuts on the table. Those smell so good, the man said. I'm sorry I didn't ask you to buy more than 1 dozen. Was George able to hide all those donuts? Not for long. George explained to the man that he had added some zeros to the order. Well, at least you learned something, the man said. But what are we going to do with all these donuts?
Send them to the cops.
They came up with a good solution. George got 1 dozen donuts, like he was supposed to, and some hard-working firefighters got the rest. How many left, George? The man asked at the end of the day. George ate the last donut from a box and held up his fingers in an O shape. 0. The end.
So thank you again for joining us today. We look forward to seeing you once this is all over. And until then, practice your hand hygiene, your social separation, and together we'll all get through this. So thank you very much.